Want to learn your target language for free? Then get our free language gifts of the month right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the Going to a Restaurant Conversation Cheat Sheet. Do you know how to order food in your target language? You'll learn how with this PDF cheat sheet. You'll get the must-know restaurant phrases and vocabulary for common dishes. Second, the Daily Conversations PDF ebook. With this, you'll learn over 100 phrases for everyday conversations. Download and review the ebook on any device. Third, can you talk about grammar in your target language? If you're learning the language, you'll need to know how to say verb, adjective, and much more. And in this 1-minute lesson, you'll pick up over 25 grammar-related words. Fourth, how to talk about working from home. You'll learn how to say Wi-Fi, online meeting, work from home. 25 phrases in total with this 1-minute lesson. Fifth, must-know art vocabulary. Learn how to say canvas, brush, and much more with this quick vocab bonus. Sixth, looking for a new language learning app? With the Innovative 101 app, you can learn fast and start speaking in minutes because the audio and video lessons are just 3 to 15 minutes long. Learning is that easy. Download Innovative 101 for free for the Android, iPhone, and iPad. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get up to 35% off with our Ready, Set, Speak sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. Let's get to your first question this week. First question this week comes from Henrique. Hi Henrique. Henrique says, how do we use at, in, and on correctly? Thank you. Okay, very quickly, because there are videos on the channel about how to use prepositions, so please do a search and check them out. Very quickly to review, let's begin with at. We use at to mark specific locations in cities. That means like buildings. So for example, I'm at the bank or she's at the supermarket. We can also use at to refer to specific locations outside cities, like in the countryside, like we're at the river today. We also use at before times to mark specific times of day, like let's meet at 2 p.m. or she arrived at 3:30. We also use at with night, as in at night. Please note we do not use at with morning or afternoon or evening. Those are incorrect. We only use it with at night. Then let's talk about in. We use in before the names of cities and countries, like she lives in Switzerland, or he lives in Barcelona, or it's in Toronto. So we use it before city names and country names. We can also use in before a length of time to mark a duration, like let's meet in 10 minutes, or we finished the project in 1 hour. We also use in with months. For example, she moved in February, or I'm going to Europe in June. Finally, let's talk about on. We use on with days of the week and to talk about the weekend, as in something we did on the weekend. In some variations of English, you may hear people saying at the weekend, but this is not used in American English. We use on the weekend. So we use on before days of the week, as in, let's meet on Tuesday, or we had coffee together on Saturday. So this is a very quick introduction to different ways to use at, in, and on. As I said, please do a quick search of the channel for prepositions to find other videos with more details about this topic. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Next question comes from Nazanin. Hello, Nazanin. Nazanin says, hi, Alicia. What is the difference between park and garden? Thank you. A park is generally a big open area with lots of grass. You can come to a park and you can do like a variety of different activities. If you want to have a picnic or a barbecue, or you want to maybe play a sport or something like that, you can generally do that in a park. There's a lot of really big open space. So maybe we can show a picture on screen here so you can see what a park, a typical park looks like. A garden, on the other hand, is something that's supposed to be enjoyed for its design. And when I say design, I mean like the landscape design, like maybe there are special flowers inside the garden, or there's maybe special decorations. There's some kind of like landscape that is special in the garden. So you might see parks and gardens like together. There might be a garden inside a park, but a garden is generally not a place that you go to do a specific activity. Like we don't go to a garden to have a barbecue, or we don't go to a garden to play a sport generally. We go to a garden to enjoy the scenery, to enjoy being in the garden, like walking along the paths in the garden. So parks are generally more open spaces where we can do a variety of activities. Gardens are spaces that we use for enjoyment of that natural space. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Sumitha Aaron. Hello, Sumitha. Sumitha says, I would like to know the difference between resume and curriculum vitae. Okay, they are very, very similar. A curriculum vitae, or CV, as it is often called, these are very, very similar documents. We use both of them to apply for jobs. So a CV is generally longer than a resume, maybe like 3 to 4 pages, and it includes everything you have ever done, all of your professional experience, so that's like your work experience, and your education experience, yes, so where you went to school, the degrees that you have, the topics that you studied, and so on. But we also, on a CV, include our credentials, our certification. So if you got some kind of special recognition, if you got a scholarship, a grant, if you've published anything, like a book or a paper, or if you have a thesis somewhere, if you've given a presentation, basically anything connected to your work and your professional experience will be listed on a CV. So a CV is like a very long list of all of your achievements, all of your professional and your educational achievements. These are kind of longer documents. A resume, on the other hand, is generally a little bit shorter. It's maybe like 1 to 2 pages long, and it's kind of more of a summary. So in addition to including like your contact information, you might have a short career objective. Like that means the thing that you are trying to do in your career. You might have that. And then generally with a resume, you have a series of summaries of your past work. So maybe you have 3 or 4 companies or 3 or 4 positions on your resume, and you summarize your accomplishments and your role in each of those positions so that someone has a good idea, has like a good image of what kind of work you have done and therefore how it connects to your current objective. So again, a resume tends to be a bit shorter than a CV, maybe 1 to 2 pages, but a CV like could be maybe 3 to 4 pages if you have a long work history. In the UK, you might find that nobody actually uses the word resume. So if you're speaking with a British English speaker, they might only use the word CV. CV generally refers to the same concept as a resume. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Siam. Hello, Siam. Siam says, what's the difference between not and no? I'll give a very general answer to this question. We use not and no to give negative responses to things. The grammar of the sentence is what's important here. So we use not before adjectives and verbs. For example, I am not hungry, or she's not sleeping, or they do not work on Saturdays. So this comes before adjectives or verbs. No, of course, is also used to respond to yes or no questions with the negative answer. You may also hear not used in kind of a sarcastic way to reply to someone's opinion or to respond to someone's opinion. For example, person A might say, "Oh, I really liked that movie," and person B might respond with, "Yeah, me too." Not. So this is kind of an old style humor. It's actually not very funny, but some people try to use this not to show contrast to the thing that they just said. So this really means, I'm going to pretend that I agree with you for a moment, but I don't really. So you might hear some people use not in this way too. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Next question comes from Arkan Git. Hello, Arkan. Arkan says, what's the difference between police station and police department? Nice question. Yeah, a police station is a building. It's a physical place that we can visit, so people work inside a police station. A police department, on the other hand, is a part of an organization. So the police department refers to a group of people working together to do police work. This is the same as like a marketing department in a company or as like a sales department in an online store. It refers to a group of people that are doing the same type of work, a police department. So a police department refers to that group of people. The police station refers to the physical building where police officers are located. So in sentences, you might say something like, I went to the police station to file a report about my lost wallet. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. Okay, let's get to your first question this week. First question this week comes from Mari. Hi Mari. Mari says, could you please explain how to know when I can separate a phrasal verb by putting a noun between the verb and the preposition? Great question. Let's think about this in two categories. Phrasal verbs that you can split are phrasal verbs that take a direct object. These are called transitive phrasal verbs. But please note that just because a phrasal verb takes a direct object does not necessarily mean that you can split it. Let's take a look at some examples. I wrote down her phone number. I wrote her phone number down. This is an example of a phrasal verb, write down or wrote down in past tense, that can be split. The direct object here is her phone number. We can put her phone number after wrote down in the past tense, or we can put it between wrote and down. This is one that we can split. Let's look at another example. He opened up the file and started working. He opened the file up and started working. In this sentence, the phrasal verb is open up, past tense opened up. We can move the file, the direct object, to the middle of the phrasal verb if we want to. Opened up the file is fine. Opened the file up is also fine. So this is another example of a phrasal verb that we can split, a transitive phrasal verb that is splittable. Let's take a look now at a transitive phrasal verb that we cannot split. We got in the car. This is an example of a phrasal verb that we cannot split. So to get in something means to put yourself into something. But we cannot move the car between get and in. We cannot say, we get the car in. This is an example of a transitive phrasal verb that we cannot split. So how do we know which ones are splittable and which ones are not splittable, or separable and inseparable? Unfortunately, there isn't an easy rule for distinguishing the two. It just takes time and practice. Let's now talk about intransitive phrasal verbs. So phrasal verbs that do not take a direct object, which are intransitive phrasal verbs, cannot be split. We cannot move the noun after the phrasal verb to the middle of the phrasal verb. Some examples of this. I like to work out. My plan fell through. She loved her trip to France. She's planning to go back next year. The interviewee never showed up. So in each of these example sentences, the phrasal verb is in bold. In each of these examples as well, the phrasal verb does not take a direct object. That means that we cannot split the phrasal verb. So again, these are called intransitive phrasal verbs. In sum, intransitive phrasal verbs cannot be split. Some transitive phrasal verbs can be split. Please take a look at inseparable transitive phrasal verbs to get a list of vocabulary words that you can study so that you can remember which ones need to stay together. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Jose Elias. Hello, Jose. Jose says, hi, Alicia. I would like to know how to use wrap. For example, when people say, your life was a wrap, or you are a wrap, I would like to know other possible meanings, please. Generally, when we use the expression, it's a wrap, or that's a wrap, it means that something is finished, it's complete. We often use this word in like media, like film production, movie production, or TV production related work. When something has come to an end, we can say, it's a wrap, or that's a wrap, which means we're finished or we're done. We might also hear this in business or professional settings to mean this is finished, as in this project is finished or this meeting is finished. You might say, let's wrap up this meeting, which means let's finish this meeting or let's conclude this meeting. So it tends to have this idea, this feeling of something being finished, something being completed. To look specifically at the examples that you provided here, while they're not sentences I would say, maybe not phrases I would say, perhaps those would be used in very specific situations, like he got in trouble with his parents and they said he couldn't go out for a month. His social life was a wrap, which means his social life is over as a result of something that happened. So that might be a situation where you'd hear something like his life was a wrap or her life was a wrap. If someone says you are a wrap, it sounds like maybe I'm finished with you, I suppose. Again, these are not expressions that I personally would say, but that might be how someone would use this. Okay, to end this question, let's talk about one more very common use of wrap. We have the expression to be wrapped up in something or to be wrapped up in someone, which means you are so involved or so interested in someone or something that you ignore things outside that or you don't pay enough attention to those things. So, for example, I'm so wrapped up in this TV show, I forgot my friend's birthday. Or, why are you so wrapped up in your new relationship? I never see you anymore. So it means that someone is too interested or too involved in something and they forget about the other things in their life. We also have this meaning associated with wrap. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Miriam Atef. Hi, Miriam. Miriam says, hey, Alicia, what is the difference between infectious and contagious? Good question. Something that is infectious is something that is capable of causing sickness. So an infectious disease is a disease that can cause someone to become sick. So that means that diseases are commonly called infectious diseases. Some examples. Prevent the spread of infectious disease by washing your hands. There was something infectious in my food and now I'm sick. Contagious, on the other hand, refers to something that can be passed to another person through contact. Some example sentences. I'm sneezing a lot, but don't worry, it's just allergies. I'm not contagious. There's a highly contagious cold going around this year. So, to think about the relationship between these two words, something that is contagious is always infectious. So, for example, a cold. A cold is a germ, it's a disease, and it can be passed between people. So, it is contagious and it is infectious. However, something that is infectious is not always contagious. I gave the example of allergies in an earlier example sentence. Allergies are an example of something that is infectious but not contagious. So we can't pass allergies from person to person. One person just has this unfortunate relationship with like dust or maybe like cats or dogs or something. Something causes this unfortunate reaction in a person, but it is not contagious. It's the same idea with something like food poisoning. If you eat something and there's an infectious germ in there, you can get sick, but you can't pass that to another person through contact. So again, something that is contagious is also infectious, but something that is infectious is not necessarily contagious. On a lighter note, we also use these words to talk about moods, feelings, and emotions. Like you might say, her laughter is infectious, or his energy is contagious. So we can use these words to talk about concepts as well. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. All right, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Raisa. Hi, Raisa. Raisa says, hi, Alicia. I'm trying to memorize some phrasal verbs, but sometimes I don't understand the need to use a preposition when the verb without the preposition means the same thing. For example, what's the difference between she called him and she called him up? Thanks. Yeah, this is a good question. In this example, the two have the same meaning, yes, as you said, but the one with up sounds a little more casual. So she called him and she called him up are the same, but she called him sounds a little more formal. I would use she called him in a more polite situation and she called him up in a more casual situation. If you're not sure, just use she called him. Another example of this might be something like close down. So for example, if we say, the store Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. Okay, let's get to your first question this week. First question this week comes from Hamza. Hi Hamza. Hamza says, what's the difference between collaborate and cooperate? And how do we use these words in sentences? Okay, well, it depends a little bit on the situation. Let's talk about cooperate first. So to cooperate means to do something in accordance with rules, like to follow rules, to do something that's like in line with society's expectations. This is one use of cooperate. For example, you might have seen a sign in English that says, "No smoking here. Thank you for your cooperation." So that's an example of cooperate used as a noun, as cooperation, but it means thank you for following the rules. Thank you for your cooperation. So it's like you're following some kind of societal guideline. So cooperate can have this meaning. We also see cooperate used to mean working together, especially when it's like two people or two groups that might not usually work together. For example, the two countries cooperated to reduce pollution in the ocean. In that example sentence, it sounds like the two countries might not otherwise work together. We use cooperate to express that both parties, both groups, get some kind of benefit from the situation. So cooperate has these two primary meanings of following rules and of working together with somebody for mutual benefit, usually somebody that you wouldn't work with. So let's compare this then to collaborate. Collaborate and the second meaning of cooperate share the meaning of working together with someone, yes, but when we use the word collaborate, it's like you're working together closely with someone to make something very intellectual, like creative or artistic. So this can be like music, it could be a research paper, it could be a movie. It's like two people or two groups combine their specialties to make something special, to make something unique. So for example, my two favorite musicians collaborated and made an amazing album. Let's all collaborate to make the event a success. Or researchers from the engineering department and the computer science department collaborated on this research paper. So those are situations in which collaborate is much more natural to use than cooperate. It also sounds, when we use collaborate, like it's kind of natural for those people to work together. If you use cooperate, it kind of sounds like it's not so natural, or they might not do those things. There's one other meaning of collaborate, which is like to help the enemy or to work for the enemy. So like if you imagine a spy from one country goes to another country and starts working for the other country, we can use collaborate to describe that relationship, as in the spy started collaborating with our enemies. Or we suspect that one of our employees may be collaborating with a competitor. So that means working together with someone, and it's usually used in a negative situation. So it's used to mean like someone is working for someone else to like reduce our credibility or to hurt us somehow and give someone else an advantage. So there is also this meaning of collaborate, but generally you'll hear it used to mean the first meaning that I described. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Andrea Oliveira. Hi, Andrea. Andrea says, "Hi, Alicia. I love your videos very much. Cool. Could you help me with the differences between warranty and guarantee?" Yeah, sure. Nice question. As nouns, warranty and guarantee, these two mean the same thing. They both refer to a promise. It's some kind of promise about like a product or a service. So when you buy a product, like a new piece of equipment, or you buy some kind of like machine, for example, you might see it says like 2-year warranty or lifetime guarantee. So that refers to the length of time that the person who made the product promises it will be good. So if it breaks, you can get a refund or you can exchange it for free or something like that. So in this sense, warranty and guarantee have the same meaning, this kind of product promise. However, Guarantee can be used as a verb, and in some of these verb uses, it has a little bit of a different meaning than just simply promise. So one of these is like to say something with confidence. One of the meanings of guarantee is like to say something or to share an opinion with confidence. For example, I guarantee you'll love this restaurant. So that's like someone saying, I know 100%, I am very confident that you will enjoy this restaurant. We can't use warranty to describe that. We can't use that in any way to describe that kind of confident opinion sharing. So guarantee has this meaning. We also have another meaning of guarantee, which is to secure against. So for example, the insurance company secured the house against storm damage. Another way to say that is the insurance company promised the house would be safe from storm damage. So to secure against is a special meaning of guarantee. And again, we cannot use warranty to have this meaning at all. So a good way to know which meaning of guarantee is being used is to look at the word that follows the verb. So guaranteed the house against storm damage. If you look after the word guarantee and you see against is somewhere after it, it's a pretty good chance that it's this secure against meaning. If, however, it's just someone kind of sharing an opinion, it's probably that asserting something with confidence, saying something with confidence meaning. And yes, we can also use guarantee as a verb to mean making a promise. So I hope that this helps you understand warranty and guarantee and the different ways that we can use the word guarantee as a verb. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Next question comes from Bianca. Hi, Bianca. Bianca says, hi, Alicia. I think the words to, also, likewise, even, and as well have similar meanings. What are their differences and in which situations do I use them? Yep, common question. Okay, so let's review. To, also, and as well have the same functions. So we use them in just different parts of the sentence. So to tends to fall at the end of a sentence, like I want to go to the movies too, or she bought a coffee too. As well typically falls at the end of a sentence, but it sounds a little bit more formal than to. In everyday speech, we tend to use to more often. You may see to used before a verb, like I too want to go to the movies, or she too bought a coffee. This use, however, sounds a little bit old-fashioned, and we tend not to use it seriously. If you hear this, it's probably being used for humor. So keep in mind, again, in some here, to and as well can go at the end of the sentence. That's typically where they go. Also, on the other hand, typically comes before a verb, like I also want to go to the movies, or she also bought a coffee. So we typically find it before the verb. You may see also at the beginning of a sentence. This happens when the speaker wants to add some information and they kind of just forgot it in the first sentence. So you might see it at the beginning of a sentence as well. Likewise, to move on to the next item in your list, tends to be used by itself. It's like a response to something someone else said. It's like saying me too. And it's kind of friendly, but a little bit polite. So for example, if speaker A says, I had a great time chatting with you, B might say, likewise, it was fun. So it's like saying me too, but it's a little more friendly and polite. And usually we just use it alone. Finally, even. So even is probably the most different of all of these words that you introduced. Before we talk about even, let's take a look at an example situation. I'm so excited for my friends to come over to my house this weekend. I deep cleaned my house, I bought a bunch of snacks and drinks, and I picked out some movies to watch. I even bought some games to play. So you'll notice that even comes before the last item in this situation. I even bought some games to play. So we use even in place of like and when we want to emphasize that we're doing something with all of our effort or that we're kind of really focused on something. So the speaker expresses this excitement and the speaker did thing A and B and C to prepare for her friends to come over. And then there's this other thing that's even more like intense, or she's kind of expressing excitement by using even here instead of just and. So we tend to use even to express emphasis. This sounds like a lot more like excited than just saying, and I bought some games to play. If you say, I even bought some games to play, it's like showing your commitment, I guess, or like your intensity in the situation. So I hope that this is a good introduction to the differences between these words. Maybe I can make a whiteboard about this in the future. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Emma. Hi, Emma. Emma says, hi, Alicia. I'm wondering, when we use the expression you guys? Can I use this in a formal situation? And can I use this with male and female friends? What about kids? When my kids are fighting, is it okay to say, you guys, stop fighting? Thanks. Yeah, nice question. Generally, when you say you guys, or even hi guys, or hey guys as a greeting, it means everyone or everybody. It refers to all people, whether they're men or women. So this is also like a very common way for people on YouTube to say hello to their viewers. They maybe start the video by saying hi guys or hey guys. It's very common to do. But it is important to note that especially over the last few years, people are considering carefully the words that they are choosing, and guys in this expression can, for some people, feel like it's a little too male-centric and like women are kind of getting left out of the expression. So because of this situation, some people are trying to use different ways to greet people or using different words instead of you guys, as in the expression that you introduced. So it's good to consider this. For example, I don't start videos by saying hi guys. I say hey everybody or hi everyone. That's what I prefer to use. So some other words that people have suggested are words like you all or y'all or folks or fam, or you can choose words that are specific to your group. Like in your case, if you are talking to your kids, you could say, kids, stop fighting. Or like in our case, if we want to talk to the people who watch our videos, or if I'm making something for like video or for audio content for the internet, I might say learners for the people who watch this channel, or I might say viewers, or I might say listeners. So instead of saying you guys, you can kind of pick a more specific word that's general for all genders. So yes, to answer your question directly, you can use you guys to refer to your kids or to refer to your friends, but I think it's maybe just good to consider that more and more people are being conscious and thinking carefully about the best words to use so that all genders can be covered in these everyday expressions. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Next question comes from Sergey. Hi, Sergey. Sergey says, hi, Alicia. You are a great teacher and a jolly girl. I really like it. I heard the phrase, go big or go home. Could you please explain what it means? Yes. First, as an American English speaker, just a small side point, I strongly associate the word jolly with Santa Claus, so that's why your question made me laugh a little bit. Jolly usually is only used to describe Santa Claus, but just a funny little note there. Anyway, regarding your main question, go big or go home. Go big or go home is an expression that means do something with all your effort or your full intensity, or don't do it at all. It's like saying do something. If you came all this way to do it, or if you've worked this hard to do it, you should do it, or you should just stay at home. So you would hear this maybe in like extreme sports or other kinds of like intense activities, or maybe if you go to a restaurant and there's some amazing food there and you have one chance to eat it. Your friend might say, go big or go home. It's a very casual, friendly, kind of rough expression. I used to use it a lot in videos. I guess I don't use it so much these days. But it's kind of like an encouragement phrase to say, like, you know, do it with all your effort or don't do it at all. So go big refers to doing something with your effort, like having big effort, or go home, like don't do it, just stay in your house. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, that is everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alicia. Of course, if you like this lesson, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alicia, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the differences between may and might. Let's get started. First, I want to begin this lesson with the word may. I want to talk about two ways that we use may in modern American English. First, we use may to request and give permission. So that means when we ask for permission, we can use may, and when we give permission, we can use may. Let's look at a common example. First, person A says, may I use your pen? May I use your pen? B says, yes, you may. Yes, you may. So in this question, may is used to request, to ask for permission. May I? And then B gives permission with may. Yes, you may. So this yes, you may means yes, you may use my pen, in other words. In many cases, however, native speakers drop this part. They just say yes, or sure, or okay. When you're making a question like this, make sure that may comes before your subject. So may I use your pen? Not I may use your pen. Don't use that pattern. Please use may I use your pen. May we use your pen or use your computer, for example. So make sure may is coming before your I or we or he or she. You can choose to reply with yes, you may. The negative here would be no, you may not. No, you may not. Another common example with may, a common request is, may I use the restroom? May I use the restroom? I'm going to talk a little bit more about another expression we use, can, in this question, and similar questions a little bit later. For now, though, let's consider this point 1 for may. Let's go to point 2 for may. The second use of may is to express a low to moderate is like medium, a low to moderate level of possibility. So may has this meaning, yes. So does might, as I'll talk about later. But may is less commonly used than might in American English. So if you use may in a case like this, as we'll see in a moment, it's going to sound a little more formal, a little more polite in American English. We tend to use might more. But let's look at some examples. There's no communication problem here. It just sounds a little formal. First, a positive statement. I may visit a restaurant later today. I may visit a restaurant later today means there's a possibility, so kind of low to moderate level, maybe like 20 to 40, 50% chance I'll visit a restaurant later today. In the negative then, the next two sentences, we may not have time to finish our report today. We may not have time to finish our report today. So this may not means there's a possibility that we will not have time. So there's kind of this chance that this thing will not be done today. So same thing in the next one. She may not be able to make it to the meeting. So it might not is another way to say this, yes. But there's a low or moderate chance she will be able to make it. So we use may not, or as we'll see later, might not to express that. One more positive sentence. He may join us later. So again, positive, so that shows there is a chance that he's going to come later. So think about this. You can use may to talk about something in positive sentences that you think has a chance of happening, a chance of occurring, and may not to talk about something you think has a chance of not happening. So finally, I want to end this section with this note about may versus can for permission. So I mentioned that in this question here, may I use the restroom, for example. We use both may and can in modern English to ask for permission. So there's generally not a communication problem. However, some people prefer to use historical rules for these two words. Historically, may has been used for permission. So for this kind of thing, this is a situation where the speaker is asking for permission. Like, is it okay if I do this? Can, however, historically, has been used to talk about abilities, so the things we are able to do. For example, I can speak English, I can speak French. So if you're thinking historically, can I use the restroom? For some people who are very strict about rules think it means like, do I have the ability to use the restroom? Of course, in modern American English, we use them the same, so it's a permission question, but occasionally you will meet people who prefer to use this may rule, the historical may rule. So if you want to be sure to be correct always, please use may when you're trying to ask for permission in a situation like this, or like this as well. So if you want to be very, very strict, you can use may, but many people use can. I think I probably use can most of the time because may does sound a little bit formal. But for your information, this is the historical difference between these two words. Okay, so with that in mind, let's continue to might. So we use might to express a low to moderate level of possibility, just as with may here. However, might is more commonly used than may in American English. So again, this point is about American English. We tend to use might more often than may in American English. It might be a little different for British English speakers. So we can make the same sentences that we made over here. We can substitute might in place of may. For example, I might visit a restaurant later today. I might here, so a positive sentence. And to me, an American English speaker, this sounds much more like friendly, much more commonly used. I might visit a restaurant later today. A negative, we might not have time to finish our report today. We might not have time. So again, there's a chance we won't have time to do this. Another negative, she might not be able to make it to the meeting. She might not be able to make it to the meeting. So again, this doesn't sound so formal. She may not sounds a little more polite. Finally, he might join us later. He might join us later, a positive expression. So again, it sounds friendly, it sounds like an everyday conversation. So if you want to sound a bit more polite, maybe you're using this at work, for example, you could use may to sound a little bit more polite. Otherwise, I would recommend using might to sound friendly and have kind of a more everyday feel to your conversation. One final point here is this old-fashioned point. So this is not used, might is not used in this way in modern American English, but you might hear it sometimes. So it's an old-fashioned use, but using might to make requests for permission. So like we talked about here. But like I said, this is not used in modern American English except for media. So this is why I chose to include this point in this lesson. So you might hear sentences like these, like, might I come in? Or might I help you? So these are like requests. We're asking, is it okay to come in? Or like, is it okay if I help you? So it's kind of like making an offer. This is an old-fashioned or archaic use of might in American English. Perhaps you'll hear this in British English, but this is very rarely used in modern American English, unless you're watching a movie that's set in a time period a couple hundred years ago, perhaps. But this is not so commonly used. If you want to make a question, a permission question, use may instead. But you may hear this. Okay, so this is a quick introduction to the differences between may and might, and a quick discussion of may versus can for permission. So I hope that this helped you understand the differences between using these words. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let us know in the comment section of this video. Of course, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the differences between however, nevertheless, and despite. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the expression in spite of, too. So let's begin. The first one that I want to look at is the word however. However. Let's take a look at 3 different ways we can use however. First, however can mean on the other hand or but. It's like a more formal way of saying but, something kind of more polite than just but. So let's look at a couple of examples of however used in this way. First example, I wanted to go to a movie. However, I stayed home and studied. One more, sorry, we don't have tea. We do, however, have coffee. Okay, so these 2 examples show how we use however to mean but like in this first example, it has the feeling of but. And in this one, the second example, it's more like on the other hand. So it's like another option is available. We also see that kind of the positioning of however, or the use changes, can shift a little bit. Here, we see that it's connecting these two ideas. I wanted to go to a movie, A. However, so even though there was this thing, I wanted to go to a movie, but I stayed home and studied. So we're connecting those two ideas there. It can have kind of the feel of even though, but not as much as some of the other things we're going to talk about later. In this sentence, you might be surprised at the positioning of however here. Sorry, we don't have tea. That's 1 point. We do, however, have coffee. So this is a pattern you might hear native speakers use. First, we use this do, we do. We use this to contrast, to give like a strong opposite to this negative don't. We don't have tea. We do have coffee. So this, however, is like on the other hand. So you could put this here, as I've done. We do, however, have coffee. You could put this before this comment. However, we do have coffee. That's also okay. So you might hear in an expression like this, you might hear the position of however shift a little bit. But these uses are on the other hand, or but. Let's move on to a totally different way of using however. We can use however to mean to whatever degree, or no matter how much, no matter how much. So first, let's look at some examples. However hard we tried, we couldn't stop him from smoking. And however badly we wanted to win, we couldn't beat the top team in our league. So these two uses of however could be replaced by this expression right here, no matter how much. So it doesn't matter how much something. For example, it doesn't matter how hard we tried, or in this case, past tense, it didn't matter how hard we tried, we couldn't stop him from smoking. So no matter what we did, it didn't matter how hard we tried, this was something we were unable to do. So this is a long expression. No matter how much is a long expression. However is much shorter. Same thing in the second sentence. However badly we wanted to win, again past tense, we couldn't beat the top team in our league. So no matter how much we wanted to win is another way to say this. So no matter how much might sound a little bit more casual. However, using however in this way sounds a little bit more formal. So if you want to express something in a more polite way, you could use however instead of no matter how much. So you'll see, however, you'll notice here, positioned at the beginning of these expressions. So it's like your no matter how much statement, however, comes at the beginning of that. We don't see it at the end. Okay, so with that then, let's continue on to the last use of however. We use however to express surprise or shock. Like you might know the expression, how on earth? So I have here a question mark and an exclamation point. We can informally, we can use these two together to show like surprise and a question at the same time. So this is kind of a formal expression and it's a little uncommon. We don't use this so much. So when we want to express shock, oftentimes about like a negative situation or like a really surprising situation, we could use this. For example, however are we going to get home tonight? The car has been stolen. So this is a really shocking situation. Using however here, though, makes the speaker's shock sound rather formal. So I would say this is probably not like this is not kind of the first thing and most native speakers would say. I think today most native speakers would say, how are we going to get home? However, there are some cases where however could be used to express shock like this, like a really formal shock. However are we going to get home? You can think of this like, how on earth are we going to get home? So it really kind of elevates, it levels up that shock and surprise feeling. One more example. However did you find the answer to this question? So again, surprise, kind of shock. We really want to know, how on earth did you find the answer to this question? I'm really surprised. However did you find? So we use these two for polite shock, but again, it's fairly uncommon. This is not a pattern that I use very much. You might see this perhaps in like movies or TV from time to time, but again, not so common in everyday speech. So these are 3 ways to use however. With that in mind, let's move on to nevertheless. Nevertheless. So nevertheless basically means even though something else. So even though A, B is kind of the feel. Let's look at some examples first. We got lost driving in a new city. Nevertheless, we made it to the airport on time. And many said her dream project couldn't be done. Nevertheless, she continued working to achieve it. So in both of these sentences, we see nevertheless comes at the beginning of the second sentence. When we use nevertheless in this way, it means even though the thing previously said. So even though this thing in sentence 1. So A, nevertheless, comma, B is a very common pattern with nevertheless. Same thing here. Many said her dream project couldn't be done is our A statement. Nevertheless, so nevertheless meaning even though many said her dream project couldn't be done, she continued working to achieve it. So what's the difference? Why should I use nevertheless instead of even though? Nevertheless sounds a bit more formal than even though. If you want something to sound a little bit more serious, less casual, you could use nevertheless in a pattern like these. So we essentially keep the meaning of even though, we just make kind of a different sentence structure there. Okay, so with this in mind then, I want to go to despite, and then we'll compare these two. So despite, just like nevertheless, means even though, actually, yes. But when we use despite, we need to build different sentence structures. So let's look at the examples. First, I ran out of time to style my hair before an important meeting. Despite that, my presentation went well. One more. Despite the fact that she arrived late at the airport, she made it to the conference on time. So you might notice here, I'm not using despite alone. In my first example sentence, I'm using despite that. My second sentence, despite the fact that. This is a key difference between despite and nevertheless. When we use despite, we have to connect it to a noun phrase. When we use nevertheless, we do not. So this is the key difference between these two. So when I say connect despite to a noun phrase, I mean patterns like these, despite that, where that is your A statement. So despite that means the statement that came before. That means despite the fact I ran out of time to style my hair before an important meeting, so even though this happened, my presentation went well. That's what it means. So we have to use that, or maybe this as well. That could be okay, depending on your situation. So we have to use that. We cannot use just despite. We can't do that. We must include that noun phrase. So some common examples of that, as I said, despite that, or despite the fact that, as I've done here, or just despite A, B. So I don't have an example sentence here, but we could change one of these sentences to use just despite at the beginning of the sentence. So for example, despite my favorite donut shop being open every day, I didn't go this morning, for example. So you could make an example sentence, or you could make a sentence, an A statement here, and attach it directly to despite. But essentially, it has to be some kind of noun phrase. We need to use something in direct connection to despite here. So this is a key difference with nevertheless. So we always follow nevertheless, or I'm sorry, we always introduce our A point, and then introduce nevertheless. So it's like A, nevertheless, B. It will always follow that pattern. So one more point I want to mention here is the very closely related in spite of, in spite of. So in spite of, we can actually use this to replace despite. They have the same meaning, the same function. Just be careful, we use in spite of as a phrase, as a set phrase, to mean despite. So for example, in spite of that, or in spite of the fact that, or in spite of A, B. So if you want to use in spite of, you can replace despite with in spite of. So to summarize all of this over here, nevertheless, we can think of nevertheless like despite that. Then we can think of despite as equal to in spite of. And we can think of nevertheless as in spite of that. So these are kind of the equivalents, the things that are equal to each other when we're using these words. So yes, they all mean even though. They have the same meaning, but it's just that the way we make the sentence is a little bit different. So I hope that this helps. I'll say too that I feel despite is a little more commonly used, despite that, or despite the fact that is a little more commonly used than nevertheless or in spite of. But actually everything is common, but I think the most common perhaps is despite from this group. Okay, so this is a quick introduction to however, nevertheless, and despite, and in spite of. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's something else you would like to know about this topic, please let us know in the comment section of this video. Of course, if you like this lesson, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about using just for the very recent past and for the near future. Let's get started. All right, I want to begin this lesson by talking about the very recent past. So I have two different patterns that we can use to talk about the very recent past with just. The first will be for actions that were completed very recently, and the second will be for actions that were planned for completion recently. So let's start with this first one here, number 1. I've marked it on this timeline here with a check mark. So on my timeline, this is the present, back here is the past. For actions then that were very recently completed, we can kind of imagine this check mark as like something that happened very, very recently. So just before now. So a simple statement pattern that we can use with just is this subject plus just plus a simple past tense verb. This is the most basic way to make a statement with just. Some examples are, I just finished work, or he just arrived, or they just left. So you see in each of these very simple example sentences, we have just followed by a simple past tense verb. In these cases, finished, arrived, and left. So if you want to make a basic statement about a finished action, something that has finished, it's done, in the very recent past, you can use a pattern like this. I want to include one note about this particular point, this number 1 point. You might also hear the present perfect used. By that I mean, instead of I just, or he just, or they just, sometimes people will use I've just, he's just, they've just. So this V and S here, this is I have just, he has just, they have just. You may hear present perfect used as well. It has this same meaning, like I've just finished work, or he's just arrived, or they've just left. The meaning is the same. For whatever reason, the speaker has chosen to use present perfect tense. Perhaps it sounds a little bit softer, but these two uses, or rather these two patterns, have the same purpose. It serves the same function. So you may hear these two. Let's look, however, at kind of the opposite of this. So point number 2 here is used to express an action that was planned for the very recent past, but that did not get finished. It's not done. It was not completed. It might get done in the future, we don't know, but it did not happen. So to imagine this like visually, we can use this X mark in the very recent past. So something just before the present time that did not happen, but we had a plan to do this. So some examples of this, actually I'll introduce in a second, but when we want to make a statement with this kind of grammar, we can use, again, the subject, but we'll use the past tense form of be. So by that I mean the be verb, so that means like was or were, plus just about to. So this is a key difference here between the regular completed action pattern. And then we'll use the present tense form of the verb. So here you'll already notice maybe there are a couple of different points between this and this. So some examples of this in action. I was just about to call you, or we were just about to leave, or she was just about to cancel the appointment. So in each of these example sentences, we see our subject plus the past tense form of the verb to be. In this case, I was, we were, she was. So here's our be verb. Then we include just about to. There's no change in these sentences, just about to, something. And then our verb is the present tense form of the verb. Call, leave, and cancel in these cases. So when you want to talk about something that was planned for the very recent past but that did not happen, you don't need to change the verb. You don't need to conjugate the verb to past tense. We conjugate the verb to past tense when we're talking about finished actions. So please keep these points in mind. So simple past tense for completed actions, present tense, simple present tense for actions that are not completed or were not completed. Okay, so with that in mind about the very recent past, I want to talk now about some patterns you can use with just for the very near future. So let's begin with this first one, number 1 here. This pattern is used to talk about an action in the very near future. So something we have planned. We are thinking about that action, or we're planning to do that action in the very near future. So here on this timeline, we're looking now into the future. So this is my now point. This number 1, I've represented with a check mark here. So this marks an action that I have planned. I want to do that, or I'm thinking about that action, and I'm going to do it soon. To make a basic sentence with this, a basic statement, we can say subject plus the present tense of the verb to be plus just about to and the present tense form of the verb. So you'll notice actually there's only one difference between this sentence and this sentence, and that's this part right here. In this part where we were talking about the very recent past, we use the past tense form of the verb to be. I was, you were. Here, we're using the present tense form of the verb be. I am, we are. So this is one hint that it's actually a future action. So this will tell you, is it a future action or is it a past action? It's a small point to listen for. Some examples, though, are I'm just about to finish work, or he's just about to arrive, or they're just about to leave. So here, I've reduced it in each of these example sentences, but my be verb is here. I'm is I am, he's is he is, and there is they are. So I'm just about to finish work. He's just about to arrive. They're just about to leave. These tell us something is going to happen very soon. Another point about this is that sometimes native speakers will drop just from this pattern. So I'm about to finish work. He's about to arrive. They're about to leave. These are all fine. They communicate the same thing. It's just the speaker's preference. So you can choose whichever you prefer. Okay,
Then I want to continue to point 2 for this part. Point 2, let's look at the pattern first, is subject plus the present tense be, again here, plus just, and then we see the progressive form of a verb. So this is something that we use for an action that's happening now, and it's like something that we expect is going to finish in the very near future. So we use just to emphasize this. To visualize this then on a timeline, we can imagine with this kind of wavy line here that something is happening now and it will continue until the very, very near future. So maybe it stops or it finishes here. If you want to talk about an action like that, you can try using this pattern. So some examples are, I'm just finishing work, or he's just arriving, or they're just leaving. So these show the action has already started. So I'm just finishing work means maybe I'm making my last steps in my day, or I'm taking the last, I don't know, bits of information from my day and putting them somewhere. I don't know, it depends on you. But we use these to talk about actions that started and that we expect will finish very soon. So you can try using one of these at the end of your workday, or maybe when you're leaving a location. Those are some common situations where we would use patterns like this. So please keep that in mind. When you're using the progressive form of the verb, it's going to sound like something is already happening now. It's begun. When you're using it when you're just using the present tense form of the verb here, it's something you are planning to do in the future. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to using just for the very recent past and for the near future. I hope that you found some patterns that you can use to talk about your recent past and to describe some of the things you're going to do in the near future. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let us know in the comment section of this video. And also, please feel free to leave some example sentences if you want to practice using this grammar. Of course, if you liked the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about pronunciation. I'm going to focus on beginning TH sounds. Let's get started. Okay. Beginning TH sounds are broken into two categories. There are voiced TH sounds and unvoiced TH sounds. Let's start with the voiced TH sounds. So a voiced sound means we use our vocal cords to make the sound. So one big tip for today's lesson especially is over here about voiced and unvoiced sounds. If you're not sure about the difference between a voiced sound and an unvoiced sound, you can practice by touching your throat right here when you make the sound. So for voiced sounds, if you touch your throat when you make the sound and you hear or you feel a vibration, that means the sound is voiced. So you're using your vocal cords to make the sound. So vibration means it's a voiced sound. If you touch your throat when you make the sound and there's no vibration, that means it's an unvoiced sound. So this is a quick way to test if you're making a voiced sound or an unvoiced sound. So you can use this for today's lesson. So I want to begin, as I said, with voiced TH sounds. So to make the voiced TH sound, you can practice by putting the tip of your tongue, that means the top of your tongue, or not the top of your tongue, but the part of your tongue that's right here, that's right there. Put that against the back of your upper teeth. So your upper teeth, put the tip of your tongue, that part of the tongue I just pointed to, put that against. So if this is your tongue and this is your teeth, put that against your teeth to make that first position. Then, when you release that position, make the vowel sound that follows the word. So it's not just making the TH sound, but because this is a voiced sound, we're making this sound together with like another vowel sound. So when we release our tongue from this position, we continue on in our mouth to making the vowel sound next. So some great examples to practice with are words like these: this, that, these, those, the, and there. So you'll notice as well that the words that are voiced TH sounds, or the words that use voiced TH sounds, are kind of like these grammar words. They're really closely linked to the grammar of the sentence. It's not like the nouns or like the verbs in a sentence, but it's like those small words. So again, when we make these sounds, this, so the beginning position, my tongue is against my teeth, the, and I pair that, as I'm moving away from the back of my teeth with my tongue, I go to the vowel sound. This, this, this. I change the vowel sound and I change my mouth's position. That, that. So when I say I change my mouth's position, I mean I change the position that I move to. So this position, I always begin from this position. I always start there. But then I change the position of my mouth to make the next vowel sound. So this, that, so my mouth is kind of wide to make the that sound. These, so it's like I'm smiling when I'm making this sound. So my tongue begins against my teeth, and then I move to an E sound, these. I make the sound when I release my tongue from that position, these. When I make the O sound, those. This is a case where you might notice the tip of your tongue comes between your teeth a little bit. That's okay. Those. That's totally natural. So my mouth is making an O shape, those. But basically, the top of my tongue still begins against my upper teeth. I make an O sound. So I release my tongue from that position, those, and I make an O sound to follow it. With this one, the. This is another case where the tip of your tongue might move between your teeth a little bit. That's okay. The. Another one, there. So another example where the tip of your tongue might move a little more between your teeth to make this sound. So these are all voiced sounds. So to test, again, you can touch your throat when you make this sound. So this, my throat vibrates. That, these, those, the, there. So these should all make a vibrating, or a vibration rather, in your throat when you make the sound. So these are voiced TH sounds, beginning sounds with TH that are voiced. I want to compare this then to unvoiced sounds. So again, as I said, an unvoiced sound, or you might know a voiceless sound, is a sound in which no vocal cords are used to make the sound. So if we touch our throat when we make the sound, we won't feel any vibration. That's correct. So to practice making an unvoiced sound, you can begin by practicing this very slowly. So you can put the tip of your tongue between your teeth to make this sound. So that's the beginning position that you can slowly practice. So that means between your top teeth and your bottom teeth, put the tip of your tongue between those. That's the starting position. So some examples. A great example we can begin with is think. So you might think, why is this an unvoiced sound? I hear a vowel sound. When I touch my throat and say think, my throat vibrates. Yes, that's true, but we're focusing on the TH sound only. So make the TH sound in think. There's no voice, like there's no vibration in your vocal cords. The I sound in think is voiced, yes, but the TH sound is not voiced, so it's a sound. It's just the feeling, like you have the feeling of air passing through your mouth. There's no vibration in your vocal cords. So this is the correct way to make an unvoiced TH sound. So let's try this with another word. We practiced a little bit with think, think. Another example, thanks, thanks. So this is a word I often hear students make an S sound instead, like thanks, not correct. So make sure you use your tongue, thanks, thanks, to make the sound. Another one, thought, thought. So again, begins with no sound. So thought, thought. I open up into the next vowel sound, thought. Another one, thunder, thunder. So here I'm making a U sound after my unvoiced TH. Thunder, thunder. Another one, thigh, thigh. So you can hear, as I did with all of these, I'm like making the next vowel sound. So my mouth is already moving to the next vowel sound as I'm making my TH sound. So they're very closely connected. If you'd like to practice slowly by maybe breaking down the sounds like ink, it's okay, but try to put them together. So ink, maybe anks, ought. That's how we could perhaps break down these, but try to put them together. Practice making the sounds together to make your speech sound more natural. Let's look at some more examples. Three, three, three. So here maybe is a little tricky point, this R sound that comes after the TH. Three, three. So you can kind of imagine there's another E here, three. So that's the position, we don't say an E, but that's sort of the position of the mouth to make that R sound after the TH. Three, three. So I'm kind of dropping my jaw a little bit to make the sound. Three, three. Another example, 13, 13, 13. So when I make this sound, there's a little gap here, right here. 13, 13. So again, the TH is unvoiced. 13. So my voice does not begin until the I sound here. There's a little gap, 13. Okay, one more, thud, thud, thud. So again, TH makes no sound. My vowel sound is a voiced sound, thud, thud. So these are a few words that you can use to practice making these voiced and unvoiced sounds. So you can begin by practicing words like these individually by themselves. Then you can begin making sentences and trying tongue twisters that use these sounds too. So practice these words together in sentences as well. So don't focus just on like one word. You can of course put them together and try to say them quickly, like this, that, these, those, the, there. You could try to say it quickly like that. Or for unvoiced sounds, think, thanks, thought, thunder, thigh, 313 thud, if you want to practice making those sounds quickly. So you can kind of build your own tongue twisters in this way if you want. But this is a basic introduction to voiced and unvoiced TH sounds, especially at the beginning of words. That was the focus for today's lesson. So if you have any questions or comments, or if there's something else that you'd like to see on the channel, please feel free to leave us a comment below. Of course, if you know a good tongue twister that uses these sounds, please share that with us as well. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, the first tip is learn words through phrases. So learn words through phrases. What does this mean? This means instead of studying one vocabulary word at a time and having that be your only way to study vocabulary, it means study entire phrases, study a group of words at a time. So for example, don't study like morning only. Study good morning or how was your morning? Those kinds of expressions. So you're not just studying one word at a time and thinking about how you need to link that word to other words. Instead, set yourself up to know how to put those words together by studying a few phrases at a time. Okay, the next tip is to watch your favorite video with subtitles. So when you do this, choose a video or maybe a movie that you like and turn on the English subtitles for that movie. So while it might be difficult to catch everything that's happening in each scene, you can at least check the subtitles. You can check the information as it's being said. So if you can't catch everything by listening, you can at least read the words on the screen and understand these as kind of units or as sentences that you can study. So again, you're not looking just at one word or maybe even two words together, but you're studying things as a phrase or as a question or as a sentence. Okay, let's go to the next tip. The next tip is to think in the language you want to learn. Think in the language you want to learn. This is a really, really tough one, especially when you're starting out, and it will take time. So don't worry if you can't do this right away. But this means as you go about your day, as you wake up and eat food, go to school, go to work, whatever, try to think, spend some time thinking in English. Think in the language you're studying. So this can be really, really boring stuff, like thinking about what you're doing. How could I express that in English? So think about those sorts of everyday actions and activities and try to express them in English. You can do this out loud to work on improving your speaking skills. Okay, let's go to the next tip. Okay, the next tip is to use available learning applications. Use available learning applications. So that means if you have a favorite application, an app that you like to use to study, make sure you use that. So maybe you've downloaded our application, for example, thank you. You can use that to work on your speaking. You can do that by reading dialogues, by trying to shadow conversations that you hear. You can also just use your phone's recording function and record yourself and then listen to it later. That might sound like a really simple tip, but it can help you a lot. So we sound very different when we're talking, and we often don't hear that unless we kind of step outside our body a bit and listen to ourselves from outside. And recording your voice is a really, really good way to do that. So make sure you check out the apps and the functions that you have on your phone or your computer to do that. The next tip is to expand your vocabulary by reading. Expand your vocabulary by reading. So a common complaint from learners is they say, I don't feel like I have the vocabulary I need to express myself. I know lots of basic words, but I don't feel like I can say the things I want to say when the time comes in a conversation. So one way to do this is to work on building your vocabulary. Reading is a really great way to do that. So choose things to read that you have a connection to. They're related to your hobbies, to your work, to your studies, whatever. Choose things that are relevant, so like they're connected to your life, and read those things and find the key vocabulary words that people use within your daily life activities and try to remember those. Try to make those the vocabulary words that you study and practice so that you're able to use them when you speak in conversations. The next tip is to talk to yourself. Talk to yourself. Like talking to yourself sounds a little bit crazy, sure, but this is a great way to practice speaking when there's nobody around. You can just practice making the sounds that you're working on. You can practice saying sentences and questions. You can practice talking about your day. So for those of you that maybe don't have somebody to practice with, this can be an excellent tip. And again, as you talk to yourself, you can also record yourself and listen back. And I know a lot of people say, I hate the sound of my own voice. I hate the sound of my own voice. It's only you. You're the only person who is going to listen to that recording, and it's to help you study. And it helps a lot, actually. This is something that I do when I need to improve my own speaking skills. So I highly recommend this tip if you want to work on speaking and improving your speaking. So talk to yourself. Sounds weird, but it helps. Okay, next tip is to listen to recordings and repeat. Listen to recordings and repeat. Another word for this is shadowing. Shadowing. So that means basically you listen to a lesson, for example, like if you want to listen to this video or you want to listen to one of our lessons, you can listen to it and then quickly try to say the same thing the speaker is saying right after them. So if you're using this video, for example, it just means you try to repeat the same things I say now in just a moment. So shadowing like this, the point of shadowing like this is to try to match the intonation and the rhythms of the speaker in addition to the pronunciation. So this can be helpful if you're having trouble like linking words together on your own, if you're having trouble building your own sentences. By shadowing after a native speaker, you can kind of get a better feel sometimes for the rhythm of how a language is supposed to sound and how you can produce that language yourself. The next tip is to prepare for daily routine situations. Prepare for daily routine situations. So that means like think about your day and think about the things you need to say in your day and how you would express those things in English. So for example, when you greet your coworkers or you greet your fellow like classmates or whatever, how do you greet them? How would you greet them in English? Prepare something for that. Or when you want to ask about dinner, how would you ask for dinner in English? So think about these things you know you're going to do in your day and just prepare them ahead of time. It will save you time and it will also make the other person feel more comfortable, right? Because they'll be ready for a natural question. The next tip is to try to practice your speaking with a native speaker. Try to practice your speaking with a native speaker. This is challenging for many people, I know, because they don't have a native speaker in their community or they don't have a native speaker to connect with online. It might take some time to find that person, but this is, of course, a hugely important thing to do. So a native speaker does not mean a teacher. So just because a person is a native speaker does not mean that they are a teacher. In fact, most native speakers probably don't know all of the rules of grammar and they're not prepared to answer all of your questions, which is fine. But a native speaker does know what feels and sounds natural. So they can help you to make more natural choices with your speaking. They can also help you to address any questions that you might have about pronunciation or maybe like vocabulary choices within a specific region. So it's important to remember that not every native speaker is a perfect speaker, but they can help you a lot in helping you sound more natural. The next tip is know your audience. Know your audience. So what does this mean? To know your audience means to think about the person to whom you are speaking. So that means don't just think about you. Think about the other person. Like when you're talking to someone else, what are they looking for in the conversation? Are they talking to you to get information? Are you study partners? Are you coworkers? Are you classmates? What are their needs? So how do you meet their needs? How do you match their manner of speaking? So please try to remember to think about the other person in the conversation as well. The next tip is to ask for feedback and reflect on it. Ask for feedback and reflect on it. So try to think of someone in your community that you can ask for feedback about your speaking skills. If you don't have a teacher, you can check out the online options that we offer, of course, or maybe you have an online exchange buddy that you can practice with, but make sure to ask for feedback. And when they give you feedback, don't take it as criticism. So if someone says, for example, oh, your pronunciation of this sound needs some work, don't feel offended. Like that feedback is intended to help you improve. So when you receive feedback like that, think about how you can focus your energy on improving those points. So that means please reflect on that feedback and think about what you can do to integrate it. So to integrate it means how do you put that feedback into your mind and put your energies towards improving that point. All right, the next tip is to avoid reading directly and try to use an outline. Avoid reading directly and try to use an outline. So this tip is specifically if you need to give a presentation or if you need to like share some information like a report in a classroom. So instead of just printing a piece of paper and reading directly from the piece of paper like this, in a classroom setting, or if you're giving a speech or a presentation, try to print just an outline of your main points and then practice talking about those things before your speaking presentation, before whatever presentation you need to do. This will help you sound a lot more natural. It's really unnatural and it's not very much fun and it's not very interesting to watch someone just read a report in front of a classroom or to read a report in a business presentation. presentation. So instead of doing that, try to refer to an outline throughout your presentation. So your outline might be something like introduction, main points I want to talk about, and then you move on to the detailed points you want to talk about. And just write a few words so that you can remember the things that you want to make sure you share with your audience. So again, this goes back to that point about knowing your audience in our earlier tip. Think about their perspective too. The next tip is shadow language CDs and then repeat what you heard. Shadow language CDs and repeat what you heard. So very, very similar to the earlier tip about repeating quickly after a native speaker, like when you're watching this kind of video. If you're not comfortable using a movie or using a video like this one, you can try using language learning audio. So maybe you have CDs or maybe you have podcasts or other lesson content that is at a slower pace and that is easier for you to understand. You can practice shadowing with these things too. You don't have to practice with a native speaker that's talking at fast pace. You can also use these slower practice CDs and practice audio files to do your shadowing exercises. So don't feel like you have to speak super, super quickly to practice your speaking efficiently. Practicing slowly is also okay. Keep practicing regularly, otherwise your hard work will be wasted. Keep practicing regularly, otherwise your hard work will be wasted. So this one I think is pretty clear, but it's important for all aspects, all parts of learning a language. Keep practicing regularly. So that means practice your speaking a little bit every day. If you just try to speak for like an hour 1 week, it's way too much. So try to practice speaking like 1 minute today and then 1 minute and 10 seconds tomorrow. So keep building, keep working on things every single day, and you'll see much better results in the long term. All right, let's go to our last tip. The last tip is don't give up and stay positive. Don't give up and stay positive. So that means please be kind to yourself. So if you make a mistake in a conversation, it's not the end of the world. If you forget a word or if you say something funny, that's fine. It's all part of the learning process. Please don't worry about those sorts of things. You'll get over them and you'll learn how to improve. So make sure that you always continue moving forward and you keep a positive attitude. Hey everyone, welcome to the Monthly Review, the monthly show on language learning, where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, study tools, and resources. By the way, all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see can be downloaded for free on our website. So click the link in the description right now to sign up for your free lifetime account. Okay, today's topic is how to make sure you keep going when your reason for learning language changes. Did you know that the reason most people start learning languages isn't why they continue with the language? Successful learners change up their reasons along the way in order to keep themselves motivated. So if you started learning for whatever reason but no longer feel motivated, then this episode is for you. You'll discover 1. Why your reason for learning a language can and will change, and 2. How to keep going with language learning when your initial reason no longer works. But first, listen up. Here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Going to a Restaurant Conversation Cheat Sheet. Do you know how to order food in your target language? You'll be able to. With this PDF cheat sheet, you'll get the must-know restaurant phrases and vocabulary for common dishes. Second, the Daily Conversations PDF ebook. With this, you'll learn over 100 phrases for everyday conversations. Download and review the ebook on any device. Third, can you talk about grammar in your target language? If you're learning a language, you'll need to be able to say verb, adjective, and much more. And in this 1-minute lesson, you'll pick up over 25 grammar-related words. Fourth, how to talk about working from home. You'll learn how to say Wi-Fi, online meeting, work from home, 25 phrases in total with this 1-minute lesson. Fifth, must-know art vocabulary. Learn how to say canvas, brush, and much more with this quick vocab bonus. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. How to keep your motivation going, even when your reason for learning a language changes. First, here's a question for you. What was your reason for starting this language? You might have started learning for travel, for the culture, to watch TV shows or understand music, or because someone you know speaks it and you want to try speaking with them. All of these reasons have something in common. They're external, meaning you're trying to get some outside reward or benefit, like a friendship, a personal relationship, travel, or living in the country. You can say they're also external motivations. All of these reasons are why most people start learning languages. They're exciting. All of us want to understand a TV show 100% or have a conversation with native speakers. But the problem with external reasons is that they may not last very long. Have you ever been motivated to start learning only to lose that motivation? And months later you realize you made no progress on a goal you wanted? It happens quite often. For example, you want to learn a language for travel, but then the pandemic happened and you weren't able to travel. Or you were learning to enjoy TV shows, but the shows are way too complicated and you find you're no longer enjoying them. Or you're learning for your partner, but then you break up. When that happens, all learners come to a crossroads: continue or quit. Most people quit because the reason they started is no longer motivating. So how do you keep going? In the first part, you learned that most reasons for starting are external reasons, like traveling, meeting new people, being able to watch TV shows and such, or external motivations. However, your reason for starting a language isn't often the reason why you continue learning. It's natural for your reasons to change. So what do you do when your initial reason for learning is no longer working? If your current motivator isn't working, switch to an internal reason. External reasons are about getting some outside benefit. Internal reasons have more to do with yourself. For example, you could say you're learning the language because you want to improve yourself. You want to achieve this goal. You've failed goals in the past, so now you're determined to make it work for once. You're the type of person that gets things done. All of these are examples of internal reasons, where you make it about yourself. External reasons can only last so long. Even external reasons like you want to live in that country, so you want to learn the language, aren't enough. There are plenty of people that move abroad to learn a language but end up losing their motivation anyway. And psychology studies show that internal reasons, internal motivation, doing it for yourself, is much more powerful than external. Doing it because you want to is much more powerful than doing it because you have to. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Next time we'll talk about the first step in your language learning journey that will guarantee your success. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way, and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. See you next time. Bye! Know any good tips for mastering conversations? Well, there are some words and phrases that tend to be used more often than others in everyday conversation. So if you know the most common questions, answers, and phrases, you'll be able to handle a lot. When you think about it, a lot of conversations are quite predictable. They're about topics we're already familiar with. So if we approach our studies to these conversations like we're working on remembering parts of a script, we can study efficiently. In this video, we'll cover one hack for improving your speaking skills. First, understand what you say. When you meet a new person, what do you say to them? Things like, "What's your name?" and "Where are you from?" Then you talk a little bit about yourself. And even if you know that person, there are common lines you use all the time, right? These lines you use all the time in your conversations are your scripts. These are your most commonly used questions, answers, and phrases. Targeting these expressions in your studies will help you be able to handle a lot of everyday conversations. So take some time to examine what you talk about most, or what you're interested in talking about. Next, where to find scripts for speaking. Luckily, we have hundreds of scripts that you can use. With our language learning program, you get the line-by-line scripts for all of our lessons. In fact, lessons like the top 25 questions you must know, the 3-minute lessons, and survival phrases are specifically designed to help you master the most commonly used questions, answers, and phrases. For example, the top 25 questions you must know focuses on the 25 most common questions you'll hear in a conversation. This includes basic questions like, "Where are you from?" "What's your name?" and "How old are you?" As a learner of another language, these are the questions you'll hear almost every time you meet someone new, and you'll use them every day. It goes like this. You hear the question, then we break down its meaning and teach you how to respond. That way you'll be ready to speak right after the lesson. You can listen to these lessons and read along with the lesson notes. With our dialogue study tool, you'll get line-by-line scripts of the conversation. So you can review each line as many times as you want. You can listen to the audio, read the script, and the translation. You can also do this with our 3-minute and survival phrases lessons. In these lessons, we give you line-by-line scripts for how to introduce yourself, how to make conversation, or even order food at a restaurant. If you're a Premium or Premium Plus member, you get the dialogue tool and line-by-line scripts for all of these lessons. Starting to speak in your target language might be scary, but this simple hack will help jumpstart your conversations. So if you're ready to speak better, check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share this video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Do you want to have access to tons of language lessons, but you don't want to have to buy more textbooks? In this video, you'll learn 6 ways you can get language lessons for free. This video will cover ways to get our audio and video lessons on a regular basis, so you can work on improving your language skills. You can use these anywhere, anytime. All right, let's take a look at how to get access. First, right on our website. New lessons come out every single week. Mondays, Tuesdays, and video lessons on Fridays. Access them all in the Lessons drop-down menu on the site. Click on Newest Lessons. If you're on the go, you're going to work, driving, or running errands, you can easily learn with your mobile device. And that brings us to our next tip. Second, get lessons on the Innovative Language app. If you're an iPhone, iPad, or Android user, learn on the go with the Innovative Language 101 app. Download it for free. After you download the app, you can keep up with all the latest lessons. There is a Newest Lessons icon right on the home screen, and it gives you instant access to your free lessons anywhere, anytime. Just look for Innovative Language 101 on the App Store or Google Play. The third way is the Apple TV app. You can learn on the big screen. Turn on your TV and access all of your audio and video lessons. You can learn at home, keep the lessons playing, and immerse yourself all day long with the Innovative Language 101 app. Look for it on the Apple TV App Store. Now, this one is useful for only Apple TV subscribers, but if you're not an Apple TV subscriber, don't worry. The fourth way, get lessons with our iTunes feed. iTunes can download your lessons automatically and have them saved forever. You get every single lesson as it comes out. You'll never miss one. They're saved in your iTunes. Simply search for us on iTunes and subscribe. Fifth is the Daily Dose of Language app. This is for the iPhone, iPad, and Android. With this, you get bite-sized lessons sent to your device every day. Each day, you get a notification that your daily dose of language is here. Doing the lesson takes just a minute. These aren't our full-sized audio and video lessons, but these 1-minute lessons will help you build a habit of learning daily. Find the Daily Dose of Language app on the App Store or Google Play. The sixth way is with our brand new Alexa skill. If you own an Amazon Echo, Dot, or Show, or are planning to get one, you'll want the Daily Dose by Innovative Language. Find it in the Amazon Skill Store. With it, you get new audio lessons and vocab lessons every day across all 34 languages. If you're ready to start learning a new language, these 6 tips can help you get started learning with our language learning program. Just pick which way works best for you and get started learning today. There are so many ways to start learning for free. Just check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.